good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. We've got two games for you in this video, each featuring the Tier 9 Pan-European destroyer, the Östergötland. I hope I've pronounced that correctly. This first game is going to be slightly differently though, because on the one hand we've got the replay file, as you can see here, but on the other hand we've also got a live recording.
Yes, I think it might be. They've got 4, 5. Holy radar, Batman. They've got 5, and we've got 1, 2, 3, possibly 4. Wow. Okay. Well, I'm going to A. I don't want to go B. There's going to be a radar ship at F6, if not 2.
So whenever you see live recording at the top, I won't be doing any commentary apart from this little segment here. And then I'll change back out to the replay file for the commentary sections. So now I'll hand over back to me for the live section.
I can't type.
And here we are again with the replay file. His Swedish Majesty's ship Östergötland, designation J20, entered service in 1958, there's a picture of her there, and was decommissioned in 1982 and sold as scrap over in Spain. My particular build, I have these equipment slots and these captain skills. Now there is an argument in favour of a slightly different build, dropping superintendents and going for the torpedo armament expertise. And as you can see from the footage here, I'm not unaccustomed to going and finding a fight to get into with another destroyer. As such, I find the extra heal that little bit more useful. With my build, torpedoes reload every 85 seconds, and with the torpedo armament expertise, that drops it down to 76.5 seconds. Now let's quickly head over back to the live game.
Cleveland's right, there's a Chaffee having a... Oh god, there's 3 radars at B, at A rather.
And back again with the replay file. Now, one of the most fundamental things that I want to get across in this commentary is the need to communicate with the rest of the team. Now, I appreciate the fact that on the EU server there are, well, there's 24 official languages in Europe, but there are actually more than 200 spoken languages. So on this particular server, there's not that many people who will be speaking the same language as you, but nonetheless, you've got to try. And you may have noticed that the Musashi in the game is responding to me and asked me at the beginning of the game what we were looking to do, and I've kept him informed. And I told him, well, no, I'm not going to A. I've explained why, and now I've told him what I'm going to try and do instead. Unfortunately for me, the Seattle appearing there means that I can't go the direct route into B.
I'll try on the other side of B. I've got to tell myself to be patient in this game. Right, Seattle's going to take some talks.
And the second fundamental thing that I wanted to get across in this commentary is don't get stuck in the mindset that if you go to a certain cap or flank, that if things don't look good or don't work out for you, there's nothing to stop you changing your attack or changing your approach. The key to this, of course, is communicate with the team. Now, obviously I'm in a 3-person division here and we're all on voice comms, but the rest of your team aren't, which is why I've been typing into chat telling people what I'm going to be doing and why. I think it was Helmut von Moltke, the Prussian commander, who said no plan survives first contact with the enemy. Now, I'd be lying if I said that I've never gone to a flank or never persevered with trying to get a cap, despite evidence to suggest that it's really not a good idea for me to do so. And if we're honest, we've all done that at some time. But it is important to remember that you can change what you're doing if the information provided to you suggests that you should do that. The question that raises itself, therefore, is what else are you going to do and how else are you going to do it? The last thing I'm trying to get across with these two games is the concept which I think is the key to playing the pan-European destroyers well and being successful in them, and that is patience. If you go charging into a cap where you don't have smoke to be able to disengage very easily, these destroyers are not the stealthiest, so it's quite possible that you're going to come across a destroyer that's going to be able to outspot you. If a carrier comes into play, then fine, you've got AA to fall back on. However, whilst you're shooting down all the planes, you've got all the enemy and their dogs trying to shoot at you, and there's no way that you can hide. So you've got to choose your approach carefully, you've got to pick your fights carefully, and you've got to be able to approach a situation with, at the back of your mind, how am I going to disengage if I need to disengage? Okay, so back to the gameplay. I noticed that the John Bart is reversing from our forces as they push through C. He doesn't want to do a death turn in front of all of that, so he's reversing. He's probably got his speed boost going, but he's almost certainly reversing at a constant speed, which means that I'm fairly confident that I can send both sets of torpedoes pretty much overlapping each other and that they've got a pretty good chance of connecting with the target. Now, the follow shot function by pressing Z is still a bit derpy on replays, so let's switch back over.
Kremlin? No, I'm over here. You just keep reversing, John Bart. You just keep reversing, mate.
Okay, back again with the replay file. The torpedoes have all landed and I've got some nice flooding damage ticking up there. Now, this is the ideal position to be in my opinion, for a pan-European destroyer, because I'm far enough away from any radars to not have to worry about that. There is no destroyer near me, or it's unlikely to be a destroyer near me who's going to cause me any significant concern. If the Z-46 comes into view, I know that he's almost dead, quite possibly a one-shot. And now is an ideal time to talk about the pan-European destroyer torpedoes. Now, the Östergötland has 2 quad torp-racks. Each torpedo only does 10,700 maximum damage. However, they're quite fast, and they go quite far. These ones have got a 13.5 kilometer range, and with torpedo tubes modification 1 installed into slot 3, they've got a speed of 90 knots. Yes, that's 90 knots. Now, these things aren't particularly stealthy. They're able to be detected at a range of 1.8 kilometers. However, at a speed of 90 knots, that doesn't really matter. Now, fortunately, that Donskoy is saved by an outcrop that doesn't even render on the screen. Let's just say that there was a boulder just underneath the surface that the torpedo detonated on. As you can see, the game is, albeit somewhat balanced in terms of numbers of ships, not really in terms of points and map control. Our team has completely dominated the north, and as you can see in the east, we are spreading down and around, and the 2 ships to my southeast are partially obscured by the island, So I'm pretty confident that I can open up on the Buffalo without any serious risks to my health. The Chapayev wants to disagree with me, but at that range I'm getting more and more confident that A, he's unlikely to land any significant shots onto me, and B, that even if I were to suddenly lose a lot of my health, I'd still be able to survive and carry on in my role of sending long-range torpedoes out and keeping the spotting going. And indeed, even though he's hit the radar buttons to keep me illuminated, I'm not actually that worried, because the Buffalo has now been destroyed and he is the only one who can actually shoot at me. But as you can see, he's got his hands full dealing with other things. As you can see, I'm looking to set off some torpedoes towards the Freddy de Grosser, and the torpedoes come whizzing by, so there's no chance that the Z-46 has gone to the corner to try and loop around behind our team, and is actually, just like the Freddy de Grosser, being herded towards a smaller and smaller section of the map with less and less room to maneuver. And as we approach into the final stages of the game, it really boils down to a question of, is our team going to reach 1,000 points, or is their team going to run out of points? There's 2, possibly 3 torpedoes going to land on the Freddy de Grosser, 3 in fact. It brings my total up to 113,500, which I'm quite happy with. And my RPF is indicating to me that the Z-46 is indeed very close. So I decide to accelerate, just spin around, close the distance on the Freddy. If I don't bump into the Z-46, then I'll be much closer to deal some more damage to Freddy Grosser. And in fact, there is the Z. Just wait for the turrets to spin around, and should only take one shot. Fire off another one just in case. There you go. And with the points the way they are, that's it for this game. And I'll leave you to have a look at the result screens before we go into the next game. Okay, now here we are in game number 2. And this particular game I chose because it's going to show you the same thing, the need for patience, but from a different perspective. All will become clear as the game develops. Radar is not anywhere near as big of a problem for me in this game as it was in the first game. And at the beginning, because my friend Dave and I are the only 2 destroyers, he and I decide that he'll go down to ACAP, and it'll best serve our team if I make the journey all the way over to the DCAP to see if I can be of use to the team over there. And as I said before, best serve the team by communicating with the team, and so I type in the chat that I'm going over to D. At this point, I think it's fair that I'll own up to saying I never really know what the enemy spawn points would be. Now, Dave and I, we spawned at B and C3, and I don't know whether the enemy destroyers would spawn at H and I3, or the opposite side being H8 and I8. Or indeed, there could even be secret option number 3, one of each side. Either way, Dave and I decided best for the team if I come over to D and we split the division up in typical slap fashion. Having said all that, I must admit that it quite often feels like, oh, it's such a long way to go. I'm going to miss half the action by the time I get there. But in reality, I'm travelling at just best part of 40 knots. And in the time it's taken me to explain all of this, I'm more than halfway there. Now, as I'm approaching, I'm trying to assess what's going on. DCAP has already started flipping, but none of our forces, albeit from the D line, are able to spot anything, so it's highly likely that there's a destroyer in D. Now the Mogador has already been spotted over at A cap, which leaves the Kitakazi as being the almost certain candidate for the person in the D cap. Now, as I approach in, I'm going to make sure that my 6 kilometer detectability circle doesn't go too close to the corner at F7, because quite often you're going to get a cruiser parked right there ready to attack anything that creeps into the cap. And in this case, that would be me. A couple of players on our team try to give me indications as to where they think the Kitakazi is, but end up giving me conflicting information. So instead I decide to rely on my captain skill radio location, which indicates to me that because of the shape of the cap, I'm currently looking at the closest target, which is almost certainly a cruiser just around that corner. As I'm approaching the top corner of the cap, there you go, it changes over to where the Kitakazi is actually most likely to be, whilst he just finished off capping the D cap. And in fact, there he is. Now he's smoking up, so I've only got a relatively small window of opportunity to get some shots in and send out both sets of torpedoes overlapping each other. He's not really going to have too much time to be able to change directions, if at all he wants to do so. It would not be a good idea for him to do that, but I can always live in hope. At the very least, I would expect one torpedo to hit the bow of the Kitakazi, doing quite a substantial amount of damage out of the 10,700 maximum that it can do. And there's the one torpedo, just shy of 7,500 damage to them at the beginning of our encounter. I'm quite happy with that. Now, he's smoked up. He's probably not going to be moving anywhere. I'm going to start reversing in to block the cap, whilst hopefully the team starts to move up a little bit and apply a bit of pressure. Now, whilst I'm reversing into the cap, I'm going to be blocking the enemy team from getting points, but also I'm waiting for him to come out of his smoke. He was facing towards me when he smoked up. He's probably not maneuvering that much. If he is, he's going to have to turn all the way around, but as you can see, he's already firing, so my guess is that he's still pretty much in the same orientation that he was in before. So when his smoke dissipates, or he does come out of the smoke, I can just speed boost straight out in the opposite direction to safety. Now, not entirely sure what my Tirpitz is doing, but he is moving forward, he's pushing in. I've noticed that the enemy Donskoy has moved up, so I'm now within radar range of him, and it's time for me to leave. The Kitakazi's come out of his smoke, and I don't want to get caught in the crossfire or indeed hit by any shells that were intended for the Tirpitz but go slightly astray and end up hitting me. And as I alluded to in the previous game, just because I was in the cap blocking it does not necessarily mean that I should stay in the cap. It's time for me to leave, reassess the situation and decide where I want to go from here. To be honest, I don't think I'll ever know if the Georgia was being funny or not, or being forthright in what he was saying. Either way, what I said holds true. There was no reason for the Tirpitz to push in there, and all he's done is push into a crossfire and get himself killed. Now let's have a look at the other side of the map. The A cap has fallen. Dave and Sexy Martin, as we call him, have decided to retreat and see if they can re-establish a line of defence and take it from there. And the players behind me seem to be unsure as to exactly how they want to proceed. Having seen the Tirpitz push in and get himself killed, I'm now being radared by the Donskoy, and I just have to make sure that I don't do anything drastic, don't panic. and either wait out the duration or get far enough away that I'm out of range. And there we go, problem over. Yet again, I need to think about what can I do next. Let's reverse in and try and take the cap again, or at very least block it, seeing as the enemy has 3 caps to our 1. And here we have the Tirpitz Mark II. The Siegfried deciding to push in, which, to be honest, baffled me at the time. It baffles me still to this day. Maybe he's just testing the durability of the ship. His division mate in the Georgia is terrified of coming off the sea line and helping him out. Maybe the Siegfried thought to himself, well, I'm bored of this, I want to go and do something else. Either way, he's charging in and getting himself killed. Bravo. But it's not all doom and gloom, because I'm able to get the kill on the enemy Tirpitz. And let's do a quick assessment. We've only got 1 cap. The enemy has 3. I'm trying to flip decap. My division mate Dave has decided to go through the middle and try and put pressure on that way by flipping the C cap and hopefully dividing their forces. I'm now contested in D, which is almost certainly the Kitakazi. Yep, there he is. Fortunately, he's completely sideways. He smokes up instantly, so all I need to do is reverse around. Pretty confident that I can reverse around there long before his torpedoes reach me. Assuming that he sent them, I send out an overlapping widespreads and think to myself, right, well, he's undoubtedly sent torpedoes to me. Let's change out of the way and see if we get lucky with the torpedoes that I've sent him. In fact, there is the spread that he's sent in. And with the Kadikazi, I've also got to be careful that he might have another set 8 seconds later if he's used his torpedo reload booster. But either way, Kitakazi no longer a threat. 1 problem less to deal with, and hopefully I'm able to finish off capping D. Dave is managing to get through the C cap nicely, and all of a sudden the situation is not looking quite so bad. We've now got 2 caps, almost got a third. We've pulled the gap down to only 2, and crucially we've got 2 destroyers to their 1 now. Now in this position I've got a decision to make. As you can see, the battleships behind me are moving away to try and counter the threats coming around clockwise from the northwest, which leaves me on my lonesome. Do I follow through and help them try and engage and find the Mogador, or do I stay and defend the decap? Now the good news is that the Zara is going to try and hunt Dave down, has already moved off in that direction. The Hipper, last seen heading in that general direction as well, is unlikely to come back and be a threat to me. So what I'm really faced up against is the Zumo, who, as you can see, is about to take some torpedoes from me. But also, crucially, behind him, last seen next to the island at G9, is the Donskoy, who is a significant threat to me. And there is the radar, as I was expecting it to happen. But fortunately, he is in the process of just sailing behind an island. So even though he knows exactly where I am because of the radar, he doesn't have a line of sight to be able to shoot at me. Russian cruiser guns with their very fast shells have very low trajectories. So it'll be a few seconds before he can actually come out behind the island and get some effective fire into me. By which time the radar would have run out, as indeed it has. Now, just as before, I've got a decision to make. Do I stay and defend the decap, or do I abandon the cap and rush back to help my forces in the north in fending off the counterattack from the enemy forces moving clockwise? As you can see, I've decided to stay behind, defend the cap as best I can, and even if the Donskoy keeps the cap blocked, I just need to focus on trying to decap him wherever possible, whilst minimising the risk to myself. I know that his radar is going to be on cooldown for at least another minute. So now we start into a game of cat and mouse where I'm sending torps and he's evading them as best he can whilst trying to cap, or at the very least block the cap, and possibly getting some shots into our forces who are defending B. I'm sending torps in his direction whenever they're loaded, keeping him spotted just in case someone wants to shoot back at him. And he's almost certainly running Hydro, considering how useless defensive fire AA is these days. And whenever possible, as you can see, I'm moving towards this island. I leave it to the last possible moment to decap him, and time it with the island so that I'm only exposed for a short period of time before able to get into cover. And here we go, calculated risk. I need to decap him before he completes the capture of D. Only exposed for a few seconds before I'm able to get into concealment again behind this island. Because of how I've timed it, I know that he's really only likely to be able to have time to reload once, so I'm only going to face one salvo. There we go, job done. All I need to do now is keep calm, rinse and repeat. Meanwhile, elsewhere in battle, Dave appears to be doing the same sort of thing with the Hipper and defending the Sea-Cap. And our forces in the north, led by Sexy Martin, as we call him, have managed to blunt the attack of the enemy force coming around the corner, and it's turned into a bit of a stalemate over there, where each side is saying, "Come at me, bro. No, you come at me, bro. Come at me, bro. No, you 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 come at me, bro. You come at me, bro. You come at me, bro. Come at me, bro." So, how am I doing? Well, managed to catch the Donskoy when his Hydro is down and land a few torps, cause a flood. Although I'm spotted, he's been distracted by my Tirpitz colleague. And as you can see, my little countdown timer mod tells me I'm about to go unspotted and once again into safety. He's been decapped again and no doubt thoroughly fed up with the situation in general. As you can see, the points have managed to swing in our favour, and so too have the number of remaining ships. Dave's managed to kill the Hipper. The Sea-Cap is well and truly secure for the time being. And between myself and the Tirpitz, we're about to finish off the Donskoy. He's low enough and still taking fire from the Tirpitz. I'm confident enough that he'll maybe be able to get off one, possibly two salvos before he goes down. So I'm just going to open up and see if I can help him along. And there you go. If you focus on the minimap, you'll see that Dave is down south looking nice and rosy. Sexy Martin's in the north looking rosy, and I've manoeuvred perfectly cleanly without any hindrance whatsoever. Didn't just bump into the island. Nothing to see here, thank you very much. So now the real question is, am I going to be able to get the Kraken? Now, I don't have a recording of the live voice comms, so I'm not entirely sure why my hand was bouncing around as much as it was there. I can only assume there was a bit of banter going on between myself, Martin and Dave. But let's see if we can see what happens in the end. Place your bets, ladies and gentlemen. Will he or won't he? Okay, so Morgador has been spotted. Dave was forced into the engagement, but fortunately for me, manages to get himself killed. I'm homing in, but at the moment I'm really worried that the Morgador is sailing out towards the west in the same direction that he was pointed when Dave bumped into him. But one thing's for sure, at least twice a day in my case, a broken clock is going to tell the right time. Unfortunately for me, the Morgador actually spun around to face towards the east. And there he is, the sitting duck, ready to gift the Kraken to me. Thank you very much indeed. And I'll leave you with the ending credits of the results screens, and thank you very much for joining me. Stay safe, and I will hopefully see you on the next one.